Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to look at some Halo 5 5-inch action figures, more specifically Spartan Fred and Spartan Locke. I recently went to a toy fair and I came across this cryo chamber for a really good price. This thing's really cool. It's got a door that opens up and you can put other 5 or 6 inch figures in there. But it did come with a Master Chief figure, which I had completely overlooked in the past, but I took it out of the box, had a play with it, and it was actually I was actually pleasantly surprised by how good these figures are. They're really well articulated. They've got really nice paint and sculpt detail. So I decided to go out and see if I could find some more of these figures at my local retailers. Pretty happy to find these two. There are a few other ones that I would have liked to have found, but this is a good start, so let's crack them open and see how they compare to Master Chief. In terms of packaging, they both come in the same clamshell style box. A little bit about the features: 27 moving parts, which is awesome for a figure of this size. And moving around to the back, you see the rest of the figures in the series and some exclusives, and a 10-inch Spartan Locke figure. Both of these have been pre-sliced, the tape at the back. So just show you how the unboxing. The tab at the bottom is actually glued in, as well as the tab up the top. So you are going to have to destroy the box to get to the figure. So there's Locke, and there's a little pamphlet in here, like an advertisement for the game, I think. And same thing for Fred. Gonna have to destroy the box, and the other way around it. Okay, so there he is. Interestingly enough, Locke has a tie around his belly, plastic tie, and Fred does not. Both of these figures have a very different design aesthetic. Fred is much more mechanical and chunky, and Locke here, he's more organic in shape. Everything's a bit more rounded. I really like his helmet design. It looks really cool actually. But he does look a little bit chubby, even compared to Fred. He's got like this area here looks kind of bloated. But again, I don't know the character, I don't know their backgrounds or their bio, so I'm not sure exactly how they're supposed to look in the game. Some really nice paint detail here as well, nice sculpt detail. I mean, there is a little bit of weathering. It's the paint isn't very crisp, but on a figure this size, it's decent. Okay, let's start off with Fred. He gets a rifle and a pistol. It's got some really sharp details. Both of them have pegs that I think you can peg into various spots, like on the back there. And I did notice some peg holes on the side, and there's no instructions with the figure, so I mean, that looks a bit ridiculous, but I guess you can peg it there. And I also noticed that the peg actually comes out of the weapon, so if you don't want anything protruding out of the weapon, you can leave it in the leg or in the back. Spartan Locke also comes with a rifle. It's a slightly different design to Fred's rifle. It's got some nice little paint detail, and it's weathered to look like it's been, you know, used a lot. And he also gets a pistol. Again, very heavy weathering with the silver highlights. Actually, I'm not sure if these are the same pistols. Yep, they are exactly the same pistols, but Locke has a heavier silver weathering on his one compared to Fred's. And again, there are peg holes where you can stick his weapons in the back. on his thighs. The unfortunate thing with Fred is I can't actually get him to hold the pistol, his rifle, because the hole in which he needs to stick his hand through is smaller than his hand, so I might have to do some modification and cut that bit off. The other thing is their trigger hands are actually just a closed fist. There's no actual trigger finger separated from the rest of the hand. It's okay with Locke's rifle because you can just stick it straight in, but it still looks kind of awkward because you don't have the finger on the trigger. So what I ended up doing with the Master Chief figure that I got recently was I just got a scalpel and did a little bit of surgery and just made a cut and separated his index finger. So now when he is grabbing his rifle, you can see his index finger can actually go where the trigger is. In terms of articulation, Fred has a ball jointed head, so pretty good range of motion, and his head fits nicely inside that collar area, so nothing interferes. Pin and hinge joint, shoulder joint goes up and down, and all of the joints like the elbow, shoulders, ankles and the knees, they do have ratchet action, so that's kind of nice. No bicep swivel, but there's a nice elbow bend and it does swivel at the elbows. There's a upper torso ball joint, no waist joint, ball jointed hips, so it can go forward that much, back that much. Single jointed knee, no thigh swivel, but it does swivel at the knees. There's a nice kneecap there, knee guard rather. There is no ankle pivot, but it does have a ankle tilt and toe articulation, which you can actually get some tilting pivot action out of it, but it's not a true pivot because the heel is actually kind of still angled, so it only pivots halfway. So the articulation for Locke should be similar, but anyway, let's just have a look. Head is on a ball joint, pretty nice range of motion there, can go all the way around, not too much up, but good downwards range. Pin and hinge shoulders, again there's ratchet, ratchet, ratchet and ratchet. Elbows, the range in the elbows is not as good as Fred's. It's less than 90 degrees. Wrist articulation, I forgot to mention the wrist also has a bit of a ratcheting there as well, and it's on a hinge and pin, so you can actually get some nice positioning of the wrist, same as Fred. Get some nice wrist positioning there. Okay, and coming back to Locke, there's a ball joint on the upper torso, but the range is not as much as Fred's. It's a little bit restricted, and the hip joint is where this figure really gets let down. There is just basically nowhere for the legs to go. It doesn't go higher than this, it doesn't go wider than that. So I'm pretty disappointed actually with this guy. Knees, again, that's as far as it bends, so that's pretty poor. It does twist there at the knees, again same ankle pretty much, good range on the ankles, and also it has the toe articulation and the toe pivot. But really, all of these joints below the waist is useless if if you can't get any range in the hips. And this is how they look with the Master Chief figure. They are the same scale obviously, but in terms of actual height, Locke appears to be slightly taller than the other two, but only by about half a head, not even half a head. And just comparing them to a standard 6-inch Marvel Legends figure, they are considerably shorter. So these will not scale at all with your Marvel Legends figures or any 6-inch figures. I really like these Halo 5 Spartan figures, especially Fred, who has all the articulation you'd usually find in a 6-inch or larger action figure. He can do some really nice poses. The figure is well made. There's some really nice detail, and the paint job is pretty good for a figure of this size. Unfortunately for Locke, even though the design looks really nice, the paint app is nice, the sculpting is nice, he's really let down by his lack of articulation in the hips. So unless you really like the design, I would probably give this guy a miss. But Fred is definitely one to pick up. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.